Okay, hello and welcome back to the video series here. This is going to be the first video where we're actually going to dig into the program and take a look at what's what. So here we are with the program open, no files open. All you get is this splash page. Doesn't really look like there's anything special about it at all. Up here at the top bar, you've got your logo telling you what program you're using, and then you've got your typical file menu here. Now, some people when they first open the program may see this file menu has been collapsed, and that looks like this right here. Okay, so if you turn on the program and you see this little arrow right here, it may be that your file menu has been nested into this icon here, and that's just a user preference thing. Some people like to really minimize the interface of the program, so they have that thing tucked away in there. A lot of people like to leave it open, and you can leave it open too by just hitting this little push pin here at the end, and it'll hold it open for you. Otherwise, if you don't like going to words, you've got icons here for some stuff like opening a new file or finding a file on your computer. Over here on the right side, if you just follow my mouse over here on the right side, we've got a couple more buttons that lead to a couple of hotkeys, or at least, a couple of links to different operations inside the program. Things like opening a new document and opening a file on your computer. Same stuff as over here, but just repeated over here with larger buttons. So one of the things to learn about SolidWorks right away is that a lot of the stuff is repetitive. There's lots of different ways to do the same thing. So that the reason it's set up that way is because they're trying to appeal to a very large audience. Everybody has different preferences and different ways they like to do things. Trying to get everybody to prescribe to a certain methodology of using the program, very hard to do. So they give a lot of options. It's up to you to decide what your favorite is and what works best, keeps you operating at your most efficient level. So you got to figure it out. You got to try everything and then see what you like. Other buttons inside this lineup, you've got things like the design library. This is a full pre-built, or it's a full collection of pre-built part files that all correspond to industry standard hardware, things like nuts and bolts and washers and stuff. If you're into building things with those sorts of parts, this is a fantastic thing for you to have installed. I don't have it installed on my computer, but that's a long story. Then you got your File Explorer. This is just more hotkeys, trying to make different options for users. So here we've got access to my desktop. I can click on that. I can get right to my desktop. All the stuff that I've got stored on my computer, I can get to it right from here, right? Other things in here, we've got a palette. We've got appearances. This one can be an important one. These appearances here, you have access to a large number of shaders that all correspond to different materials. So plastic and metal and rubber and glass. Once we have something built, we'll play around with these a little bit more, but this is an access point to get to them. And from here, you've got properties, and then you've got the forum. So, if you're really into, talking on forums, then, maybe the SolidWorks forum is the place for you. It can be helpful in a pinch when you're looking for an answer on a question you just can't find anywhere else. Sometimes a forum can do the trick for you, but I've never really been too into it. They seem to be more trouble than they're worth. So, anyway. Moving on, let's just go ahead and open up a new file here. I'm going to go File New. And I've got my new document window here set to the advanced mode. There is a novice mode to the new document window. If I click that, novice mode has large shiny buttons for you to press. I guess SolidWorks assumes that if you're new to the program, you're going to be so overwhelmed by detail that you're going to need really large shiny buttons to get in. Thing to point out here is the different types of files that SolidWorks makes. Okay, you can see that we're going to be making a part file that's a single part. Then they also have assembly files. It's a different type of file. It's made for inserting and connecting together multiple part files into one file. That's an assembly. Then you've got drawing files. These are 2D specification drawings. So if you need to make specs for a factory or for an engineering team or something like that, that's where you go to do that. So we're going to start off, we're going to go back to the advanced tab because I figure after getting my spiel, it's pretty easy to flip over here to the advanced mode. It just means the buttons are smaller, and there's also the additional option if you happen to make yourself a custom template, a custom pre-made template. You can store it in this advanced mode, and then this has extra space for you to store files. You can see here that I've made a part file that's just already been set to millimeters. kind of like with Rhino, where when you open a new Rhino file, it asks you, what type of file do you want to open? Is it a large object or a small object? Do you want it to be in inches, or do you want it to be in, yards or miles or whatever? And SolidWorks can be set up in the same way, where you can make yourself pre-made templates to work off of. But since this is a beginner video, we're just going to go straight here to the regular part file and open up a new part file. Okay, so there you go. So a couple things change, right? We now have this large expansive open space here. This is our design window. This is where we're going to be building our parts. Over here on the left side, we've got our design tree. This is where all of our part files, or sorry, this is where all of our features and our sketches are going to be stored as we start to build the model. Up here on the top, we've got our main command manager here. This is where all of our tools are stored. And you can see this is broken out into tabs here. So we've got a features tab, a sketch tab, a surfaces tab, a direct editing tab, and an evaluate tab. Now these tabs are editable, as in if I right click on any of the tabs, I get this long list. These are all the tabs that are actually available, like sheet metal here. I can turn on sheet metal and you can see it'll add sheet metal. And it's a whole nother collection of tools that are all designed to work on sheet metal. Now, you can right click again and see other ones are weldments and mold tools and data migration and dimension expert and render tools. These are all things that are collections of tools. Now you can turn them on and off as you want, but for the purposes of our class, I'm going to turn off sheet metal, and I just want everybody to be set on these tabs here: features, sketch, surfaces, direct editing, and evaluate. These are going to be the tools that we're going to use throughout the entire course, and keeping your workspace clean can help your brain hurt less at the end of the day. So let's just kind of clean it up and keep it to these ones. Okay, cool. So there you go. So a couple other things to point out. This little collection of tools right up here at the top of your design window, this is called the heads-up display. These are a bunch of different tools that you'll be using throughout our building process. Things like the section tool that cuts your model in half so you can see wall thicknesses and you can see inside the cross-section of your model. You've got other things here like display style that transforms your model from shaded to wireframe. There's a couple other things too. This changes the type of shader that hits your model. You've got things like real view graphics, which is kind of like a rendering engine, and then you've got shadows that you can turn on and off. We'll play with all that once we start to build something. Okay, so there you go. A couple other things to point out just right before we go. This little axis jack at the bottom of our window here, you may notice that it has a Y pointing up, and that's something very specific to talk about just really quick. As an industrial designer learning 3D CAD, you're probably going to be looking at a number of different CAD packages to learn, right? SolidWorks is one, another one would be Rhino, and then you've got like Alias and ZBrush and Maya and a bunch of other that you can get into. All of them are kind of set up in different ways. SolidWorks is specific in the fact that it is a Y-up axis program. So you'll build your model on a ground plane with Y-axis pointing up. Now programs like Alias and Rhino are going to be a Z-axis pointing up, and so a lot of times when you're importing files from one program to the other, they can come in sideways and you have to tilt them up in whatever program you're importing into. Just something to point out, and also something to point out is this little dimension jack down here, or the axis jack. This kind of keeps your eyes straight as we start to build stuff and toggle around it. So, okay, so that's that. Next video, we're going to start to build some stuff. We're probably going to start to build some sketches. So I'm going to go to my sketch tab. I'm going to start to use some of these tools here, and we're going to talk all about how to do that. Okay? All right, thanks for watching. I'll see you in the next one.